Hello, troopers. Welcome back to another episode of The Sober Scoop. I'm your host, India Gantz, and today's episode is going to be all about social anxiety. Now, just to jump back to the beginning of this episode when I addressed you all as the troopers, I hope that's okay with you. On Facebook, our group is called The Scoop Troop, and I like calling this community by a name because it's a special community and it's growing, and it's getting annoying to say the people who listen to my podcast and follow on social media, the members of this community. You know what I mean? It's like, it's nice to have a name for us, and I like calling us the Scoop Troop or the Troopers. So I hope that's okay with you because that's what I'm going to go with. So anyway, welcome to today's episode. We're talking about social anxiety. In that Facebook group, which if you're not part of that group, you should join. I'll leave the link in the description. It's free, and it's just a nice support group, good for asking advice, giving advice, connecting with other people who are on your similar path. It's just a really great place to be if you are on an alcohol-free journey. So anyway, that Facebook group is called The Scoop Troop. And I asked the troopers if they could give me some ideas for upcoming podcasts. And one of actually multiple people suggested that I talk about social anxiety, especially in the beginning of sobriety. So that is what we're going to talk about today. I don't feel this way. It's kind of a known fact that alcohol is used as a crutch in a lot of social situations. We do things that we wouldn't normally do when we're under the influence of alcohol. It brings us out of our shell. And a lot of people look at that as a good thing and kind of the only way that they can operate in society, for certain social situations. But I can tell you, as somebody who is almost a year sober, that there are so many other ways to manage social anxiety and also not feel as much social anxiety in the first place at all. So let's get right into today's episode. Welcome to the Sober Scoop. This is a judgment-free zone where we talk about how to get sober and stay sober. You're not alone. I hope you feel seen. Quitting alcohol is the best decision I've ever made. Okay, so jumping right in, just societally, alcohol is used as this, it's a commonly used phrase to call it liquid courage. It is used as this social lubricant to make people function in situations that they're uncomfortable. And the issue with this is that, sure, yeah, you're nervous to go to this party by yourself or whatever. You only know one person who's going to be there. You're nervous. You're going to meet all these different people, and you want some alcohol to loosen you up and make you think less, make you less anxious, make you more social, right? Okay. So you go and do that thing, and the alcohol successfully has loosened you up and made you more social, and you realize, okay, that works. And so you continue to do it every time you go out, and every time you have something that's making you nervous, and every time that you're going to be meeting new people. And all of a sudden, you've completely blown your chance of developing social skills as a human being, because now you rely on alcohol 100% of the time to do those things, and you cannot imagine it any other way. In fact, you can't do those things without alcohol. That's the point that I got to, for sure. I mean, we all know I've shared a lot of my stories, and I drank when I was by myself at home a lot. But that's not the only time I drank. If there was alcohol available, I was drinking it. And especially if I was going to have to go be with other human beings, I was a nervous wreck. I would drink an obscene amount of alcohol before going and doing social things. And I don't want to give too many details because, obviously some of these were paid work partnerships, but I have done a lot of public speaking in my day and kind of brand rep work where I'm speaking in front of an audience basically. And you best believe I was drinking before every single one of those things, even if it's an 11 a.m. conference or something. Yeah, not great. But I, like I said, got to a point where I relied on alcohol to do anything that made me nervous. And so, of course, in the beginning of sobriety, I struggled to wrap my head around going to social things or having to do these things that make me nervous without alcohol. It didn't make sense in my mind at first. I was like, how am I going to do this when I don't have my medicine, my social lubricant, this substance that I have relied on for so long to just exist in these quote unquote tough situations. Now that I'm sober, I know that those are not tough situations. That's just life. But we don't develop the skills to function in society because we just drink in order to function. I often think about situations that I would do in my drinking days, and I would go out by myself and like meet random people and make new friends and make out with a guy on the dance floor and like just be wild and crazy and like out there. And looking back, I mean, it's like that's all due to alcohol, right? Like I wouldn't have done those things sober. But now that I am sober, I think I would do those things. It would look a little bit different, and I can go into that. But the cool thing about sobriety is that you learn who you actually are on the inside. And let me just tell you right now, you're a lot cooler than you think you are. Like I used to think that I needed alcohol to do all these crazy things, to go out to bars, to meet new people, to put myself out there, to dance on the dance floor. But I've learned in sobriety that I enjoy some of those things, even when I'm sober. I'm learning who I am and what I actually like and what I really don't like. For example, I hate house parties. I didn't love those when I was a drinker, but the drinks got me through the experience, right? Okay. I didn't go to college, so I was unfamiliar with that, like stand around and play drinking games and just talk. I was like, what is the event here? Are we watching live music? Is this like a work mingling thing? Are we traveling? Or is there this? Are we watching a sporting event? Like, I was always like, what's the point of house parties? You stand around and drink with a bunch of people you already know. It's just weird. I don't know. I always found house parties kind of weird, but I would drink to get through those. And so when I got sober, I learned that like, yeah, that's something I just straight up don't enjoy. I'm not a house party gal. No problem. I learned that about myself. What I did learn, a positive, well, however you want to look at it, something else I did learn about me is that I like to dance, and I'll dance on the dance floor without any alcohol. I do not need liquid courage to dance on the dance floor. I also don't need liquid courage to speak in front of crowds, to take an important work meeting, to meet new people. In sobriety, I have conquered so many of my fears. And if you are nervous about social anxiety or you're experiencing some social anxiety in sobriety, wow, social anxiety and sobriety, that's a mouthful. All I can say is that you just have to practice and put yourself out there. I feel like I got more socially anxious when I was a drinker. Of course, I would just consume alcohol and make that poof go away, but I would never actually learn the skills to deal with my social anxiety or nervousness or whatever. I mean, something that I still get so nervous for is if I have to give a work presentation, or I know that I'm going to be speaking on something, or I'm speaking directly to the client or whatever, some sort of big deal, speak in front of people and present. I still get really, really nervous. Like physically, my heart is pounding. I can feel it in my chest. My face is red. Like I get really, really nervous. But I've had to deal with a lot of that stuff, and I'm a year sober, and I've made it through, and I've learned new skills. One of them being just breathing exercises. And before you roll your eyes, I would roll my eyes too. But breathing exercises work because it literally slows your heart rate. I do what is called box breathing. So it's in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. Why don't we just try it together right now while I'm in your ears? Here we go. In for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. Out for 4 seconds. Hold for 4 seconds. and then in again. Okay, you get the idea. Try that exercise next time that you are nervous or anxious about something, and repeat that just a few times, and you will literally feel that pounding in your chest start to slow. It, scientifically fixes your anxiety and nervousness biologically. So the proof is in the pudding. I like facts, and that literally physically slows your heart rate down. So instead of alcohol, which is a Band-Aid fix and just covers up the nervousness, a breathing technique actually slows your heart rate and makes you physically more able to accomplish the task at hand, which I think is pretty cool. So just segueing from that, I also want to talk about how to not feel as much social anxiety in sobriety. So I don't know, this is going to get really deep, but social anxiety comes from a few things. One of them being the unexpected. So we're going to get nervous and anxious if we don't know what to expect. So something that really helps in sobriety is just being aware of the plan, how you're going to get there, how you're going to get home, who's going to be there. Obviously, you can't always know everything, but being as informed as possible really helps. Now, my ex-boyfriend was very social. He had a lot of friends, and they had a lot of events. And so something that helped me when I was sober and still in that relationship for a brief amount of time, I asked a lot of questions, and I just wanted to be fully aware, because that helps me feel less nervous if I know, okay, is this girl going to be there? Is this guy going to be there? Is this person that I know going to be there? So they can be like my comfort person at this party. Will there be drinks there? Should I bring my own? Is there going to be food? Should I eat before? Will I drive? Will there be parking? I know that sounds crazy mental, but when you know what's going on, you feel less nervous. And that actually goes for a job interview, for example. The only way to feel less nervous about a job interview is to be so prepared, to feel like there is nothing they could ask you that's going to totally throw you off. And okay, wow, I'm going all over the place right now, but a little tip for job interviews, by the way, is have 3 strong stories to share. With facts, with numbers, with examples, but 3 strong stories that you can come back to. And I swear, if you have those 3 stories, no matter what the interviewer is asking you, you can find a way to relate it back to one of your 3 stories that you have prepared. That is my life hack for interviews, especially. Have those stats ready to go, a really specific example of a success story from your previous job, with numbers and the full story, and have 3 different versions of that, and you'll be able to answer any question they have with one of those 3 stories. So just having those ready in the pipeline makes me less nervous, because I know that even if they ask one of those weird interview questions, tell me one strength and one weakness and how you overcome that, or whatever, every single one of those lame frickin' interview questions that we all have experienced, you can link to one of those stories somehow. You can spin it in some way to get back to that. So that goes for the preparedness portion that I'm talking about here. When we are prepared, when we know what's going on, it's less nerve-wracking. So in social situations, try to just be aware of what's going on, whether that's looking at a parking situation in advance, or looking at the menu at the restaurant, or knowing who's going to be there, and just knowing what's going to happen really helps you feel less anxious. Okay, the other thing I was going to say, the deep part of social anxiety, is that of course there's just general anxiety, being nervous for stuff, and that's okay. But sometimes when we've relied on alcohol to carry us through social situations, we think that our real selves suck. We think that we are not great without alcohol. And that's where it gets a little sad, in this deep portion I'm talking about. Sobriety is really cool because, like I said, you get to know the real, true you, and you feel this sense of confidence in who you actually are. You do not need any substance to alter you or to bring you along through these experiences. Like, you have the skills yourself to get through anything. And I think when we feel this real big sense of social anxiety after relying on alcohol for so long, it's because we don't currently like ourselves. And I don't know if that applies to everybody, but like, I thought that I didn't like myself. In fact, I didn't like myself when I was first getting sober. I mean, I was at the lowest place in my life, probably one of the lowest. As many people talk about a rock bottom, I didn't officially hit a rock bottom, but I was at a low point. That's why I got sober, right? And I didn't like who I was. So alcohol helped me in my heavy drinking days, like, mask this version of me that I really didn't like. I was overweight. I didn't like my job. I didn't like where I lived. I missed my family. I'm embarrassed of my past. I have like some baggage. There's just stuff that I didn't want to put out there. And alcohol made it easier to put myself out there, even when I hated myself. And so that, I guess what I'm trying to say is that sometimes that social anxiety comes from, okay, you've relied on alcohol for so long to cover up who you actually are. So sobriety is also like a self-love journey. First of all, you're becoming a better person every day that you are sober, physically, mentally, emotionally. In every way, you're becoming better. And so that you just improve as a human being, and your confidence improves because of that. But you also develop this sense of self-love. If you are able to get sober and kick a bad habit, it feels so good. And you're so proud of yourself, and you literally love yourself so much. And like I said, every day that you are sober, you are more and more proud of yourself, and more proud to put the person out there that you are. So it gets easier and easier the longer you're sober. You feel more confident, you feel more comfortable in your own skin, and it's easier to put yourself out there. Now, another thing too that I've learned is that I am way better socially sober than I was ever socially under the influence of alcohol. And that might not be the same for everybody. Some people might not be as outgoing, or be on the dance floor, or going and talking to people. But for me, I had the opposite effect. Like, alcohol kind of made me go into my shell a little bit. I mean, I don't know. It's hard because, like, obviously sometimes you drink a lot of alcohol and you're crazy and out there and woohoo and yeah. But I guess just even in like the quality of conversations that I have, I'm more comfortable talking to people in sobriety. I'm more comfortable meeting strangers. I'm more comfortable holding a conversation. And I think that ties back to the confidence, but it also has to do with the fact that I know I'm not being altered by alcohol. I know that I'm not slurring my words. I'm speaking clearly. I'm proud of where I am in life, so it's easy to converse with other people when I'm not embarrassed and trying to hide myself. A lot of different things go into it, but I am better in social situations sober than I was as a drinker. In fact, that ex-boyfriend of mine, he even told me that, like, I'm more confident, more outgoing. And that was only 2 months into my sobriety. I was only in that relationship for 2 months as a sober person before I ended it. I had a lot of self-work to do. Obviously, I've been on this sober journey and just going through a lot of things, and I needed to do it alone. But anyway, he said to me, because actually there was one specific instance. I was in the Starbucks drive-thru, and I was chatting it up with the gal in the window. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love your nails. Those are so cute. And she's like, thank you. They're this new gel X. Have you ever tried it? And I'm like, no, I actually haven't. I've started doing my own nails because I'm trying to work on my nail health. And we just had like this great little conversation at the Starbucks window. And he was like, you would have never done that in your drinking days. Like, I was such a shell of a person. And the fact that he said that actually like meant a lot to me. I don't know how to describe it, but I'm just more likely to talk to strangers, to say hello in the elevator, to say hi when I'm passing somebody in the hallway, or like give a smile on the street, or I'll get into random conversations with like the guy who's managing the self-checkout section at the grocery store. I mean, I just thought of that because it happened yesterday. I don't know, so much more comfortable in this world. And I just operate in a way where I'm more approachable, easy to talk to, and I'm less scared. Again, it's like I have less social anxiety now that I am sober. Yesterday, I wasn't able to work my mail key, and there was another guy in the mail room with me. And the old me, the drinking me, oh my God, social anxiety would have totally taken over, and I would have just struggled with that key, or looked it up online, or waited till the leasing office opened the next day. Like, I would not have done what I did, which was ask him. I said, hey, have you lived here for a while? Like, do you know where we pick up these packages if we got this key in the mailbox? And he explained it to me. And like, it was instinctual. The moment my key wasn't working, I was like, hey there, do you know where these keys go? And he helped me out right away. I just am so much more out there and fluid in this world. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I have less social anxiety as a sober person. It took a while to develop those skills, but they're here now. It's like once you don't rely on alcohol, you actually learn the life skill. And now I have those skills, and I'm better than I ever was as a drinker. So if you are nervous about the social anxiety in sobriety, all I can say is don't be. I get that you would be nervous about that and worried. But if you find yourself continually getting nervous to do things, maybe those are things that you don't want to be doing. I enjoy still going out and having fun and dancing and whatever in sobriety, but not everyone does. And that is totally fine. If you discover that deep inside yourself, you don't like going out to bars and socializing with people, that's okay too. Okay. But the other thing I was going to say was, yes, if social anxiety is a fear of yours, don't let it be a fear, because you will become better in social situations, most likely. You'll develop actual life skills to go through this life as a sober person and do hard things and manage your nerves and anxiety. And once you develop skills, every nerve-wracking experience from then on becomes easier. And another tip I want to throw in here for you guys is that a lot of the social anxiety comes from muscle memory. When we go out to bars, we have a drink in our hand. That's what we have. We place our hands on our drink if we're sitting down. We cheers people. We just are in that position of a bent arm with a drink in our hand. It's muscle memory. It's what we do when we're out. It's what we do when we meet new people, or we're at a wedding, or we're anything. Like any social situation where you are used to holding a drink, part of the anxiety you feel in sobriety is not holding that drink. So my advice is to still hold a drink. Okay? Just a non-alcoholic drink. Because part of the reason you feel awkward in social situations as a sober person is because you're not doing what you used to do. So try to make it feel as similar as what you used to do. That's my tip for getting through social situations. So when you're out at a bar, just order a Diet Coke or an NA beer or a sparkling, or whatever they call that, soda water with lime. And just have something to hold on to and get drink after drink after drink. Get around when everybody else gets around. Like, just be as in the mix and have it be as familiar to you as possible without actually consuming alcohol. Like I said, it's muscle memory, so just hold on to something and that instantly makes you feel better. I promise. Now, like I said, you might discover that you don't like to go out, or you don't like certain people or whatever. And I think that's actually a beautiful thing, to discover who you actually are as a person and not who you are when you're altered by alcohol. So you're going to realize your likes and dislikes. And if you realize that you don't like to go out to bars or whatever, then that's great. There are way healthier alternatives. You're probably in a Pilates class or on a walk or playing golf or doing pickleball. Like there's so much more to life than hanging out in bars. But if you like, I don't actively go out to bars, but in certain situations, I find myself at bars. I'm meeting people before we go to a Mariners game, or, we're going out after this dinner or something like that. So I find myself at bars. And I truly believe that one of the big pieces to my success in sobriety has been keeping my life as normal as possible, because when you get sober, you're already eliminating a huge part of your life. Like, that's a big change to remove alcohol. So I didn't want to also remove all my going out with my friends, like all the bar situations. I didn't want to go straight home after dinner. Like, I wanted to be able to participate in the things with everybody else and have life feel as normal as possible with this big life change of sobriety. So that's where the Diet Cokes, the soda waters, the NA beers, whatever, they come in really handy, because you go out to these bars and you still feel like you're part of the mix and socializing with everyone, just without the alcohol portion. So there's my tips for the social anxiety. I hope that helps. And I know it was a little bit all over the place. I don't have like one message for everybody, because everybody's situation is different. And I also don't want anyone to feel like you have to go through these social anxiety inducing situations. Like I said, you might realize that those are just simply not for you. But of course, there are some that are unavoidable, like a job interview. And that's where some of the tangible tips that I gave you will come in handy. The breathing exercises, or the muscle memory aspect, or the being prepared. So yeah, just you don't even have to try. You will, in sobriety, develop skills to deal with hard things. And that is amazing. And you will also realize who you are and who you are not. And that is also beautiful. So enjoy the journey. I'm so proud of you for listening and even considering sobriety. It's a beautiful journey. It's a beautiful life. And thank you so much for listening. I will see you for the next episode. Bye.